I would say that both of you are probably the most advanced men that I know regarding expressing how they feel.
Mm.
So, as two of the more advanced men that I know in that field, how, why do you think it's so difficult for men to express how they feel?
I think for the fear of being vulnerable and being looked at as less masculine. I think that's what the thing is. The man them. I think and the idea of what it is to be a man is all different as well across the world. I think there's different perceptions, but I think through films and through certain things like that, they've kind of built up an image that a man must be. And I think it's meant to be tough and strong and this and that, and just like a brute, someone who can't communicate, someone doesn't has emotional intelligence, someone doesn't know how he feels when he feels that way. And I think that kind of has gone around. And I think let's say forget about all communities. Let's talk about the black community. I think with some of the films that they were putting out about us, the gangster team, the rude boy team, that's definitely going to shut off even more emotion from the black community. People are not going to be able to open up, express themselves, grieve, cry, talk about how they feel. I think that's something that was put onto us, to make sure that we just
Self-implode.
yeah, we just like don't deal with our trauma. We just heal. We keep everything inside, and it just creates more pain and anger. So I think that's why some people are just jumping off of fucking buildings. People that people are committing suicide and doing all sorts of things because they can't deal with what they're holding in. They're not expressing. They're not able to let it out. They're not able to communicate with someone. Like you could have a brother or sister, mother or father in your home, but you can't even communicate with them about how you actually feel. And I think that's a major issue. So I think when I started to realise that in my 20s, maybe late 20s or mid 30s, I thought, well, I've got to be one of those people then that expresses how I feel, so other people can see that I'm confident to talk about what's going on when stuff are going on, or how I'm feeling about certain things or certain topics. So they have the confidence to say how they feel when they feel something. So this is why I thought like to be more honest. I feel like we didn't have enough transparency and honesty with what was going on with us in our community. So I felt like I'm gonna have to try and be that person when it's time.
So when you got there, what was the results? So how did people
are always surprised by the honesty and the transparency. And I've kind of been like that all the way through my life. But I guess as I got older, being more open, communicating more about those situations. Remember those situations back then? This is how it impacted me. Oh no way! I never knew it impacted you. You were always smiling. Yeah, but this is how it impacted me. People get more of an in-depth explanation as to like how you felt about certain things that went on that they just thought was all blessed, that weren't all blessed. Because people think that stuff that goes on in our community is blessed. We're all normalised. Some of the levels of violence, some of the whatever it is that we go through, people think it's normal. And when they see us all cracking on, they think it's okay. It's like, like mental health is rife in our community because this is not okay, and we're not been talking about it or dealing with it. So I think the result was people are always quite surprised and shocked when you communicate honestly about what's going on in your life or how you feel about things or
Do you ever ask why you are how you are? As in, why you? Because obviously, as I've noticed, you are levels, especially in that field. So clearly, for me, you was chosen to be that guy. But do you ever ask yourself, why me?
Yeah, because that and being me becomes with difficulty and challenges.
Of course.
People could get it wrong. People could now think you're vulnerable. It's like, man's not vulnerable.
Yeah.
Don't ever get it twisted. Man's like, I can be crazy. Whatever you want, think I can do whatever you want as well. So don't ever get anything twisted and so people can take things all different times. People are going to interpret whatever you're telling them in their own way. Go away with it. See you the next time and thinking that that's what it is. It's like, nah, we're not where you thought. Wherever you think I am is not wherever I am. I might tell you, explain something to you, and that's a feeling. I may have been there, or you think that's where we live, or that's where we stay. People get confused about.
I think
your journey.
When you're vulnerable, like how we are, that actually is a power.
It is a superpower.
I can because you know, they can, especially because the way you give it out, bro, like, you'll move a room, right? And another man will be like, but I didn't do that. But he will see the reaction. And the other side of around doing that is, you can't hide with me because I'm going to open up the book on myself.
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's the thing. I think when people are expressing, I think the fear of expressing your emotions is number one. I think society doesn't care what you feel.
100%.
That's the reality.
They don't care.
Because when you do give it out, they're like, yeah, we want you to give it out, but not like that because you're a man and you should be. Do you get what I'm saying?
Do you know why?
Yeah.
Sorry, Jake,
Yeah.
because they are manufacturing robots.
Yeah.
And robots can't feel. You can't second guess this thing. You gotta keep working. You gotta keep producing. You gotta keep benefiting the society.
Yeah.
You can't stop to think and question, why am I feeling this?
Yeah.
So you keep going, success.
I want to add on to that in terms of, so number one, we don't express because people don't care. Because when we do, we get shut down. It's like, no, we don't want you to. Imagine your expression is, I just need to scream. You ain't got no space to do that.
Yeah.
Because now you're seen as violent
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
dangerous and aggressive.
The potential being
But
sexual.
what you need is to get that out.
Yeah.
Men sometimes need that,
100%.
right? Or to stamp, or to just move their energy. Number two, we don't know how. So we've never been taught how to express our emotions. So I always use the example of my nephew's, one of his carers, black man, understood the mission, 3 boys. He's the sole carer. Straight away, he knew straight away, I'm gonna make sure you all understand who you are. So he would intentionally speak to them and about them as royalty. So he'd be like, these kings, and he would speak to me like, they are so beautiful. Like, they're really beautiful. What he did when he had them, he shut off everyone. No one was allowed to see them for a month. And he just got to work with them. Where's your emotions? And I'm telling you, bro, within a couple of weeks of speaking to these boys, they understood where their emotions were. They loved themselves. They were identifying where the emotion was in their body. They were expressing, sleeping. Like, he was getting them out into nature, getting them to talk while they're doing their activities. I was just like, this is beautiful.
Yeah, because I started to think that if you're not expressing how you feel at a certain time to certain people, it could be with your partner who's not dealing with you correctly, and you're just not talking about that. So it's like, how much do you love yourself if you're going to put yourself through like hell in a situation because you're not able to communicate about how you feel for fear of judgment or fear of, it's like, I'm like, that's not fair on you. I feel like not expressing yourself is doing yourself a disservice most of the time
100%.
in certain situations when you need to talk up
Yeah.
and be a man. And I think whatever that means, but I think in terms of like, I think people get confused of expressing oneself and communicating and letting the world know who you are and how you deserve, how you feel you should be treated or whatever. And vulnerability, people put the same, expressing yourself and vulnerable in the same thing. And people think that when you express yourself, that is vulnerability. I don't see it as a vulnerability. I see it as a superpower, like you said. But I think that when people hear deep, real stories and honest things that happen, they think that now that's vulnerable if it's impacted you emotionally, which is meant to, which most things would, or mentally, or socially, or whatever. They think, you're vulnerable because you spoke about it, which you're like actually brave for doing it, but you're vulnerable because you spoke about it, and you're even more vulnerable because you shared the emotions that came with it, which I think, I'm like, how does this make me vulnerable? I get confused. But there's also a thing where, as a man also, we also want to see some resilience within, as men, you know, we're going through this world, it's a tough world. We don't always want to hear the moaning and complaining. I think this is where the expressing yourself gets shut down, because as men, we don't, sitting in circles with men who are just moaning and complaining and crying about things, I don't think I want to be in. Like, I'm more solution based. Like, I do want to be in a space where people could express themselves, but I think, if everyone is just weeping and crying all the time, we would be like, this is not it. This is not it. This is not how it's meant to be, guys. Like, we can express it. Like, I think there's a level of resilience as a man you're supposed to have in life. So yeah, I get where there's a bit of a fine line where, like, are you expressing yourself or are you just always moping and willowing and moaning and crying?
To me, whether you're speaking about it or not, you are expressing yourself. And so what you find is a lot of men will express their feelings through actions, like abusing their partners or punching them up or having fights on the road. You will find a way to express yourself. It just might not be the way that actually benefits you in the long run. So being able to identify, wait, where is this thing that I'm uncomfortable with in my body? Like, getting clear with it. What if it had a message? What would it say? How do I release it? We just don't have the tools in the toolbox. That's where our stories came from.
Right.
So all these kind of urban myths was about expressing yourself, but not having to be like, it's me. You go and then see the spider did this thing, and there was a moral compass behind it. You sat around the fire in nature. You listened to the elders express the story, learning how to express through storytelling, but not necessarily having to be like, it's me, because it's not just you. Remember, everything that's happening to you is probably happening collectively. Like, when we look at, like, as there's a saying, touch one, touch all, right? That's what's happening out here.
Yeah.
So if one of us is getting touched, we're all getting touched.
The disconnect comes from the fact that we forget that we are our mother and our father. The mother should represent that side of like, you know, expression and feeling. But us as men think we're just men. We forget the fact that we come from our mother and our father. Yeah. So there's a balance of something there. So we have the woman, a part of us, and we have the man, a part of us. And because we've been indoctrinated as a collective from hundreds of years, thousands of years, way back when, right? We're being raised by cavemen.
Basically.
And they have their interpretation of what a man is and what they want a man to be. And because they've gone around the globe and colonized everywhere and taken over and put their education systems or indoctrination systems in place, they're raising the men that they want to see. They're raising workers. They're raising robots. They don't want people to feel. They're not emotionally, and if we're actually being real, Europeans especially, right, they're not used to feeling. Because if they was, as we said, before they colonized us, they were fucking up themselves. And they didn't think this is wrong. They felt, okay, we're gonna go and travel the globe and deal with everyone in this way. Even if we do acknowledge that we came from our mothers also, right? A lot of our mothers weren't the best at expressing themselves and teaching us that part.